Welcome to 1, 2, 4. In this game, you will be using a rock, paper, scissors mechanism to move along the track, try to position yourself in order to take advantage of track powers, and ultimately beat your opponents to the finish line. Before beginning the game, you will need to construct the player pieces. Cut them from the rest of the card, and then cut along all of the solid lines in order to slot them together as shown here. Give each player one of the player pieces, and then give the youngest player some kind of initiative token. This can be anything, from a pen to a die, it doesn't really matter. After that, you're off to the races. Once everyone's ready, all players will do the countdown together. 1, 2, 4, and then simultaneously point 1 to 4 fingers at any other player. The number that you choose to point at another player will determine the amount of movement that you get for the turn, provided, however, that it's not cancelled by another number. Each number cancels itself and one number higher. So if you were to point a 1, that could cancel a 1 or a 2. 2s cancel 2s and 3s, 3s cancel 3s and 4s, and 4s will cancel another 4 or a 1. This means that, for example, if you have two players pointing numbers at one another, one pointing a 1 and the other pointing a 2, the player pointing the 1 would cancel the other player's movement because 1s cancel 1s or 2s. 2s, however, do not cancel 1s, they cancel 2s or 3s, so the player who pointed the 1 would still get to move. In this case, the player pointing the 1 would get to move 1 space, and the player pointing the 2 would not move at all. Prior to anyone moving, however, each player, starting with the player with the initiative token and moving clockwise, gets one opportunity to activate one track power, provided that they are on a space that shares an edge with one of the spaces containing a power. For example, this power would be usable by any player who is currently in this space, this space, this space, or this space. The different powers available on the track are as follows. Move 1 additional space if you move 2 additional spaces if you move, change the target of any one player provided that there is another target available to them, move your target back 1 space immediately, or increase/decrease your chosen number by 1. So the number that you're pointing at another player, you can alter it by 1. Once all players have selected and activated a power, if any are available to them, you will then resolve movement according to each player's current target and current selected movement number. Movement will again be resolved in order from the player who has the initiative token going clockwise. The first space you move onto in each game will be one of the two checkered spaces. The other will be the finish line. You can choose as a group which one you want to start with at the beginning of the game, allow the first player who moves to choose which one they want to start on, or allow each player to start on whichever one they want, and players can move in different directions. Whenever beginning your movement on a red space, you will move 1 space less. Whenever moving onto an occupied space, you will skip over that space onto the next space. If there are multiple occupied spaces in a row, this can result in you skipping several spaces all at once. Finally, once all players whose movement hasn't been cancelled have taken their movement, you will pass the initiative token to the player on the left, and then you will start again from the count of 1, 2, 4. Play will continue through this cycle of revealing numbers, choosing and activating track powers, and then finally moving until one player has reached the finish line. Whoever reaches the finish line first wins. That's the game. I hope you get a chance to enjoy it, and thanks for checking out 1, 2, 4.